Baghdad, a city of unparalleled genius and enduring spirit.
The house of wisdom, where knowledge illuminated the world.
Witness its architectural brilliance, a testament to human ingenuity.
Through centuries, Baghdad's spirit endures, ever transforming.
In the early years of the 9th century, Baghdad had become the largest and most prosperous city in the world, a metropolis built upon the vision of a caliph, fueled by trade between East and West, and inhabited by nearly 1 million people from backgrounds as diverse as the goods that arrived at its docks. In this video, I use modern AI tools to bring historic paintings, maps, and engravings to life, shifting perspectives, changing camera angles, and moving through these scenes in ways their original artists could never have imagined. The goal is not simply to look at the past, but to step into it, to walk through Baghdad as it once was, and feel what it might have been like to stand here during the golden age of knowledge. And if you stick around until the end, we'll compare these same locations to how they look today, to see what time has changed and what still remains. Before we set foot in ancient Baghdad, it helps to understand how this story began. In the year 762, the Abbasid Caliph al-Mansur decided to found a new capital for his empire. He sailed along the Tigris River searching for the perfect location, and he found it here, on a plain where the Tigris and Euphrates rivers draw closest together before their confluence to the south. The site offered abundant water, control over trade routes connecting Syria, Persia, India, and China, and fertile land to feed a large population. Al-Mansur traced the plans of his city with ashes upon the ground, lighting cotton balls soaked in naphtha to mark the lines of the walls. Then he ordered construction to begin. This scene shows the round city of Baghdad, the original core designed by al-Mansur. It was a marvel of urban planning unprecedented in the Islamic world. 3 concentric brick walls surrounded a center where the caliph's palace and the great mosque stood. The outer wall reached a height of 80 feet, crowned with battlements and flanked by bastions. A deep moat encircled the entire perimeter. 4 equidistant gates pierced the walls, each pointing toward a region of the empire. The Kufa gate to the southwest led toward Mecca and the pilgrimage routes. The Basra gate to the southeast opened toward the Gulf and maritime trade. The Khorasan gate to the northeast connected with Persia and the Silk Road. And the Damascus gate to the northwest led toward Syria and the Mediterranean. Straight roads extended from each gate toward the city center, flanked by arcades where merchants from across the world offered their wares. At the very heart of the round city stood the palace of the Golden Gate, the residence of the Caliph. It was a massive complex covering more than 300,000 square feet. Its most distinctive feature was the Green Dome, which rose 130 feet above the surrounding buildings, visible from any point in the city. At its peak, a figure of a horseman holding a spear indicated the direction of the wind. Only the Caliph was permitted to ride on horseback within this central precinct. Here, surrounded by gardens, fountains, and audience halls, the ruler of the Islamic world received ambassadors from Byzantium and from the court of Charlemagne, administered justice, and presided over debates among the most brilliant thinkers of his age. Adjacent to the palace stood the great mosque of Al-Mansur, the first congregational place of prayer in Baghdad. It was a hypostyle building with wooden columns supporting a flat roof surrounding a wide open courtyard. Here, every Friday, thousands of worshippers gathered for prayer. The mosque was not merely a space of devotion, but also a center of community life where knowledge was transmitted, disputes were resolved, and bonds were strengthened among the diverse communities inhabiting the city. The calls to prayer echoed 5 times daily from its battlements, marking the rhythm of urban life. However, the round city soon proved too small for the population it attracted. Al-Mansur decided to relocate the markets outside the walls to the district of Al-Karch to the south. Here formed one of the most vibrant bazaars in the medieval world. Entire streets specialized in specific products. There were spice souks selling cinnamon from Ceylon, pepper from India, and cloves from the Eastern Islands. Fabric souks offered silks from China, Persian brocades, and Egyptian linens. There were markets for perfumes, for jewels, for handwritten books, for paper imported from Samarkand. Officials called muhtasib supervised trade, ensuring that scales were fair, prices reasonable, and transactions honest. Money changers facilitated the flow of gold dinars and silver dirhams among merchants from dozens of nations. On the eastern bank of the Tigris, Al-Mansur established a separate settlement for his son and heir, Al-Mahdi. Over time, this district of Al-Rusafa grew to rival the round city itself. A bridge of boats connected both shores, allowing people and goods to flow between the two halves of the metropolis. On the river itself, hundreds of vessels congregated at the docks. There were warships, merchant vessels, and even Chinese junks that had sailed from Canton across the Indian Ocean, up the Gulf to the port of Basra, and from there up the Tigris. This was the fictional era of Sinbad the Sailor, but the tales of 1001 Nights were based on accounts of real voyages undertaken by Muslim merchants who traveled as far as Korea. During the reign of Harun al-Rashid, who ruled from 786 to 809, Baghdad reached the zenith of its splendor. The caliph was known for his patronage of the arts, music, and poetry. He rewarded outstanding musicians and poets generously, contributing to the brilliant culture of his court. The stories of 1001 Nights were inspired by this period, with Harun himself appearing as a recurring character, disguising himself at night to roam the streets of his city in search of new adventures and marvelous tales. Though idealized, these stories reflect the richness and vitality of Baghdad during the 8th century. Under Harun al-Rashid, and especially under his son al-Mamun, an institution flourished that would change the course of intellectual history. The House of Wisdom, or Bait al-Hikmah, began as a royal library, but evolved into an unprecedented center of research and translation. Here, scholars of diverse backgrounds and religions worked together, translating Greek, Persian, Sanskrit, and Syriac texts into Arabic. The works of Aristotle, Plato, Euclid, Ptolemy, Galen, and Hippocrates were preserved and commented upon. The most distinguished translators received salaries equivalent to those of professional athletes today. It is said that some received the weight of their completed translations in gold. Among the scholars who worked at the House of Wisdom was Muhammad ibn Musa al-Khwarizmi, a Persian mathematician whose legacy endures in words we use daily. His treatise on calculation by completion and balancing gave us the word algebra, derived from the Arabic al-jabr, and his Latinized name, algorithmi, gave rise to the term algorithm. Al-Khwarizmi introduced systematic methods for solving linear and quadratic equations, presented Indian numerals to the Islamic world and eventually to Europe, and created one of the first detailed maps of the known world. Working under the patronage of Al-Mamun, he also participated in projects to calculate the circumference of the Earth and verify data from Ptolemy's Almagest. The city attracted thinkers from every discipline. Astronomers observed the heavens from the first observatory in the Islamic world, built in the Al-Shamasiyya district. Physicians developed new treatments in hospitals that served patients of any religion or social condition. Philosophers debated questions of theology, logic, and ethics in sessions sponsored by the Caliph himself. Poets like Abu Nuwas composed verses celebrating the pleasures of urban life with a frankness that scandalized the more conservative. Baghdad's society, in the 9th century exhibited a complex hierarchy but also remarkable diversity. Arabs, Persians, Turks, Berbers, Jews, Christians and Zoroastrians coexisted, each group contributing its traditions and knowledge. Imagine arriving at this city after months of travel across deserts and mountains. Approaching from any direction, the walls and domes of Baghdad would have appeared as a vision of abundance after the aridity of the journey. Entering through one of the great gates, you would find yourself on streets where dozens of languages were spoken, where the aromas of exotic spices mingled with incense from temples, where you could purchase manuscripts of Greek philosophy alongside Chinese silks and Indian swords. It was, in the words of the geographer Al-Yaqubi, the place where all the wealth of the world was gathered and all the blessings of the universe existed. Baghdad's prosperity rested upon a network of trade extending in every direction. By land, camel caravans connected the city with the silk routes to China and with the spice markets of India. By water, the Tigris and Euphrates served as river highways. From Basra in the south, ships sailed toward East Africa, Yemen, India, Malaysia, and the ports of China. Russian merchants descended the Volga, crossed the Caspian Sea, and reached Baghdad with furs of beaver and black fox. Jewish merchants known as Radhanites traveled routes connecting southern France with the Far East. This central position in the trade networks of the ancient world made Baghdad not only a city of scholars, but also one of immense material wealth. The Tigris River was the beating heart of the city. Its waters irrigated the gardens lining its banks, cooled the air during torrid summers, and provided a route of transport faster and more comfortable than the congested streets. The caliphs built pleasure palaces along its shores, with terraces descending to the water where they could enjoy the evening breeze. Common citizens also found recreation along the river, where there were tea houses, public gardens, and places where professional storytellers captivated crowds with tales that would eventually be compiled into 1001 Nights. Daily life in 9th century Baghdad combined urban sophistication with ancestral traditions. The city boasted attractions like cabarets, chess halls, live plays, concerts, and acrobatics. There were public baths where men and women at separate hours could relax and socialize. The homes of affluent citizens had interior courtyards with fountains, protected from the heat and noise of the streets. Markets offered not only luxury goods, but also ingredients for a cuisine that fused Arab, Persian and Indian traditions. It was a society that valued piety as much as pleasure, scholarship as much as entertainment. Yet even at its peak, Baghdad faced tensions. The vast empire was difficult to govern from a single center. Distant provinces began acting with increasing independence. Dynastic rivalries threatened the stability of the caliphate. After Harun al-Rashid's death, a civil war between his sons devastated parts of the city. The round city of Al-Mansur, in particular, suffered damage from which it would never fully recover. A few decades later, Caliph al-Mutasim would move the capital to Samarra to the north, though Baghdad would remain a cultural and commercial center of first importance. Now I want to bring you into the present and show you how these places look today. Thanks for being here, and if you have thoughts or requests for future cities, share them in the comments. Let's get into it. The round city of Al-Mansur no longer exists. Its walls were gradually demolished over the centuries, and the last vestiges disappeared in the 1870s. When Midhat Pasha, the Ottoman governor, modernized Baghdad by destroying ancient structures to build new streets and buildings. Today, the area where the round city once stood corresponds roughly to the Kark neighborhood in the Mansour district, southwest of the center. No visible structure remains of the original design, though the circular layout is still reflected in the flag of the Baghdad Governorate. The Tigris continues to flow through the heart of Baghdad, dividing the city into two halves as it has done for more than 1,200 years. The western bank is still called Al-Karq, and the eastern Al-Rusafa, the same names they bore in Abbasid times. Today, 14 bridges connect both shores, replacing the ancient bridges of boats. Abu Nuwas Street, named after the poet from Harun al-Rashid's court, runs along a section of the eastern bank. Recently rehabilitated, it features gardens, playgrounds, and statues depicting scenes from 1001 Nights. Of the early Abbasid architectural splendor, almost nothing survives in Baghdad. The palace and mosque of Al-Mansur vanished centuries ago. However, some buildings from the late Abbasid period remain. The Abbasid Palace, probably dating from the 12th or 13th century, has been restored as a museum and displays the brick decoration characteristic of the era. The Mustansiriya Madrasa, built in 1233, is one of the best preserved examples of medieval Islamic architecture in Iraq and functioned as one of the first universities in the Islamic world. The Al-Khulafa Mosque, also known as the Mosque of the Caliphate, is the oldest surviving mosque in Baghdad. Although it was completely rebuilt in the 1960s, its minaret dates from the Ilkhanid period and was for a long time the highest point in the city. Today, it stands in a precarious state of maintenance, threatened by neglect. Near it in the historic Rusafa district, some of Baghdad's most important vestiges of the past are concentrated, including the Kushla Square with its Ottoman clock tower. Modern Baghdad is a city of more than 8 million inhabitants, the second largest in the Arab world after Cairo. It has survived Mongol invasions, centuries of Ottoman rule, wars with Iran, the Gulf War, the 2003 invasion, and years of internal conflict. Each of these trials left scars, but also demonstrated the resilience of the city and its people. Today, new skyscrapers rise along the Tigris, including a central bank building. Designed by architect Zaha Hadid, streets are being widened, new overpasses cross congested avenues, and a metro system is planned that would modernize transportation. Walking today along Mutanabi Street, the historic book-selling center named after a 10th century poet, one can still find echoes of that city that was once the center of world knowledge. Bookstores and street stalls offer volumes of poetry, philosophy, and history. It is a reminder that despite all that has been lost, something of ancient Baghdad's spirit persists. The pursuit of knowledge, the mixing of cultures, the commerce of ideas as much as merchandise. These traditions that flourished more than 1,000 years ago still find expression in the streets of the modern city. I do really appreciate you watching. Your ideas, input, and constructive feedback really do shape what comes next. Feel free to leave a comment below. Until next time.